Hey, what's up guys? Explanation Pro is here. Today, I'll explain a war action film titled T-34. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The beginning of the film displays a war zone. The year is 1941, set in the outskirts of Moscow, Russia. A truck is heading somewhere, suddenly stopping after noticing a sign beside the road. There are two men inside the truck, one of whom is Nikolai, a tank commander of the Russian army who gets down and violently breaks the road sign using an axe. Along with him is a young private who is on the lookout. Just then, a war tank from the opposing German army arrives. Catching sight of the approaching truck, they both rush to start their engine in hopes of making their escape. But instead of going for the opposite direction, they boldly drive towards the German tank. The tank attacks them mercilessly, yet to their surprise, Nikolai skillfully steers and dodges the attacks. The German tank in return redirects their aim and chases them. As they drive further, Nikolai cues his comrade to count from 1 to 4, to which the young private obliges. Nikolai maneuvers the truck and is able to dodge every attack at his comrade's cue, leading to their successful escape. Upon reaching their destination, he comes to know that the Germans have already destroyed much of their shelters and killed many people. The Russian army realizes how much of a loss they are currently in. The captain then introduces Nikolai to the last team alive, composing a group of soldiers who specializes in operating tanks. Nikolai meets his new formed crew and encourages them to fight the Germans, but instead everyone mocks and laughs at him in disbelief. Reason being is that only one medium tank remains and is currently damaged. Nikolai, on the other hand, does not care less and pushes through as he formulates a plan of interference towards the Germans using the remaining T-34 medium tank. The next day, Tank Commanding Officer Klaus Jaeger and his German army are spotted arriving with their tanks on the village where they are taking shelter. Currently in hiding, Nikolai instructs his crew to fire towards the designated area as soon as the Germans reach the place. In a flash, 2 of the German tanks are blown away with missiles. Not long after, Klaus discovers their location and another war breaks out as missiles launch one after another from all corners of the entire village. Nikolai and his crew cleverly destroys a number of German tanks. Unfortunately, the Germans kill one of their soldiers who happens to be the controller of T-34. One of their crewmates named Stefan takes over and attempts to get them all out of the village. The Russian and German tanks go face to face and start firing at each other, ending the war by destroying each other's tanks. Nikolai and Stefan both survive. Nikolai attempts to take a very injured Stefan to a safe place but is shot and captured by Klaus in the process. 3 years later, a group of Nazis are seen taking Jewish prisoners to their camp in a train. The assigned commander orders everyone to kneel down, with the help of a Russian translator named Anya. One man ignores the orders and agitates the commander. This man is none other than Nikolai, who seems to have lost his sense after being shot. Being a prisoner for 3 years, he attempts to escape 7 times but ultimately fails. The commander gains intel of his attempts and decides to lock him in a special block, where they torture Nikolai for weeks. Subsequently, Klaus is on the move on shaping his tank battalion to be as strong as the Russian army. He comes to the same camp which holds prisoner 24 Russian soldiers who are part of the tank crew. Klaus takes notice of Nikolai and his bravery, therefore choosing him as the best among the prisoners. Klaus meets Nikolai in his cell together with Anya, where Nikolai learns of his intentions. Klaus offers Nikolai another chance to live by commanding him to train the German soldiers. Nikolai refuses his offer, urging Klaus to threatening him into killing Anya, which then prompts him to agree. The next morning, all prisoners are gathered for deselection. The Germans bring Nikolai in to choose the best soldiers. Nikolai recognizes many of his comrades' faces. He sees Stefan, who also survived that night. After the selection, they take the prisoners to a different place and assigns them the T-34 Russian tank, which is able to destroy many of the German tanks. Klaus commands Nikolai to repair the tank within 1 week. Nikolai, on the other hand, agrees with the underlying intention of drawing up a plan to escape the camp with his team. Anya gains insight of this plan while standing behind. They all go inside the tank, where Nikolai finds dead Russian soldiers and 6 armor-piercing rounds. Nikolai seizes the opportunity and persuades Klaus into arranging a proper burial for their dead soldiers. After getting his permission, they hide the rounds under the clothes of the dead bodies, bringing the bodies for a burial on an open field and buries them. Days continue to pass and everyone works on repairing the tank while progressing on Nikolai's escape plan. On the other hand, Klaus is accompanied by Anya, visiting from time to time to get more information from Nikolai regarding the war. Nikolai and his crew successfully repaired the tank. Klaus calls for a training exercise and comes with his companions upon hearing the news. Nikolai and his team demonstrate how the tank works and shows them how the tank functions during the war, which impresses the Nazis. Klaus, however, does not trust Nikolai and his selected crew, which exhorted him into surrounding their training grounds with landmines. Anya overhears this information and tells Nikolai. She uses it to convince Nikolai to take her with them in their escape, offering to bring them a map that reveals a safe route out of the camp. The next morning, Nikolai and his team return to the field where they hid the armor-piercing rounds and carefully sneak the rounds back in the tank, mentally conditioning themselves for the coming war. Meanwhile, Anya quietly slips in Klaus's room using her entry pass and cautiously steals the map. she leaves unnoticed by the Nazis who are in the middle of training. After retrieving munitions, Nikolai together with his team create the smokescreen to mask their movements. They start attacking the German tanks right after and targets Klaus and his German soldiers at the tower. Klaus and one of the other officers survive the attack. The oblivious Nazis finally gains awareness of the situation, but before they can even respond, Nikolai charges ahead, destroying everything that comes on their way and triumphantly escapes through the main gate. During the attacks, Anya anxiously waits for Nikolai's T-34 at the bus stop. She beams at the side of the tank coming closer, proving them victorious of their plan as she contentedly boards the tank. The Nazis, on the other hand, tirelessly tries every possible way to catch them. They command their entire army to chase down and capture Nikolai and his team. They estimate the amount of fuel and seal the tank has taken and utilizes it to track their possible location. Right at that moment, Stefan informs everyone in the T-34 of the low fuel, where Nikolai suggests for him to head towards the nearest town as soon as possible. The locals in the said village panic at the sight of the tank. Nikolai and his team take this advantage and are able to grab some food, clothes, and other essential goods. They immediately leave soon after, coming across a German tank on the way. They fortunately survive the shots as they opt out from the driving on the main road and instead aims for the route that leads to the forest. Klaus comes to learn everything and takes action himself in searching for the T-34. He boards his plane and flies to search through the forest from above. He effectively finds Nikolai and his team's whereabouts before sunset. Clueless of the fact, Nikolai decides for everyone to stay in the forest. They dive into the nearby river, keeping all the worries aside for a while as they enjoy the moment of freedom. During the night, they resume planning their movement for the next day. Nikolai suggests that they should drown the tank in water, but the others refuse to do so, promising each other to fight the Nazis hand in hand. Anya grows tense from hearing about the war. Seeing her worry, Nikolai approaches her and consoles her for the first time. Moreover, he confesses his feelings to Anya. At that time, Klaus and his soldiers take advantage of the darkness and enter the forest. They surround the entire area where Nikolai and his crew are hiding. Nikolai and his team hear a sound which alarms their senses and quickly escapes. On their way, Nikolai gives the map to Anya, telling her to go to the nearby town and take shelter there. As they say goodbye, he asks her to wait for them until the next night. They part ways from there. Nikolai together with his team successfully reach the nearby village before sunrise. Much to their dismay, they notice a German trolley, coming to a realization that they are completely surrounded by the Germans. They decide to take a shortcut, but fails as they come across another German tank that is operated by an officer in the name of Volchok. Volchok attacks the T-34 where Klaus gets his cue, ordering his team to surround a specific area. Nikolai senses the danger, cleverly dodging Volchok's attack yet again along with the attacks of the German tanks from both sides. They plot an escape by breaking through a wall leading to a narrow lane. Nikolai and the rest of the crew in the T-34 recklessly charge through the narrow lanes, only to face another German tank on the other end. Both tanks fire at each other, favoring the Russians during the blast-off. From a distance, Anya hears the blast, filled with worry and distress for Nikolai and his crew before she starts walking again. On the battlefield, Nikolai's crew sights another tank aiming at them, but before it attacks them, someone fires at the tank first. This happens to be done by Volchok. With his half-destroyed tank, this unexpected move from Volchok leaves Nikolai and Klaus utterly surprised. Volchok continues to attack more Germans, but Klaus advances in a snap. Before Volchok can fire at his tank, Klaus injures him and blows off Volchok's tank in return. Nikolai and his crew reach a point of demotivation upon witnessing this, but Nikolai persists not long after. He again tells his comrades to not lose hope and reminds them of their promise to each other. He also warns his team of the last remaining German tank which Klaus is maneuvering. Nikolai signals them their attack and both tanks fire at each other, initially misaiming. With only one armor-piercing round left, Nikolai comes out of the tank and briefly talks to Klaus. He tries to hold him off when Klaus invites him to a duel. Nikolai grabs the opportunity to request a wish for the last time, where he wishes to pick up his injured companion Volchok and be with him at their last war. After hearing his last request, Klaus is stunned but eventually agrees to it. The both of them head to a narrow stone bridge, leaving the village behind. Nikolai and the T-34 are at a disadvantage, only with an option of dodging Klaus's every attack, but the crew boldly charges, steering towards the German tank head-on. Following Nikolai's every signal, Stefan, who is steering the T-34, continuously dodges every single attack from Klaus. Shots fire at them one after another until their weak spot is hit. Stefan takes their tank and hits Klaus with it before he makes any move. With their last remaining round, they sharply aim and shoot at Klaus's tank, successfully damaging it. Klaus comes out of the tank heavily injured, where he finds Nikolai standing with a rifle aiming at him. Looking at Nikolai, he realizes and accepts his defeat. Nikolai, on the contrary, put the rifle's aim away from him and grabs Klaus's hand as he and his tank are about to fall off the bridge. But Klaus, for the first time, praises his opponent with a handshake and lets go from Nikolai's grasp, permitting himself to fall to his death along with the German tank. The film comes to an end with Anya reuniting with Nikolai and the rest of the crew outside the village, carrying Volchok alongside as they walk their way back to Russia. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and also subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. See you in the next video.